Hey guys, and welcome back to another lesson with me. Vandaag gaan ons praat oor sinstruktuur. Sin or sentence structure. And how we define sentence structure in Afrikaans is met stompie, which you've been learning like since forever, since probably grade 5 or 6. Obviously, when you get to high school, it's a little bit more hectic, and that's what we're about to get into. So, without further ado, let's crack at it. So, stompie. Stompie. I had my stompie in colors so that you could see how it, like the actual word that it spells out. So let me just do that again. Stompie. Let's look at what stompie is about. So, stompie is how you restructure or how a sentence should be structured to make it grammatically correct. Okay, so we use stompie as a guideline as to what part of the sentence should go where. Let's look at our first part of stompie, which is S. Stompie, S, which is subject, onderwerp. Subject in Afrikaans is onderwerp. So our sentence should start with wie, the subject. Who? That's our subject. Who? So the beginning of a sentence starts with onderwerp, and onze onderwerp is wie. Then, from onze onderwerp het ons werkwoord nummer 1. Werkwoord nummer 1. So verb 1. So after we have our subject, ons het onze eerste werkwoord. So I can say Melissa skop. Okay, Melissa skop. Actually, let me write it in its designated colors so that we don't get confused. So our subject is wie, Melissa. Wat doen Melissa? Onze werkwoord, sy skop. Okay, skop would be an example of a first werkwoord. Then we move on to time, tyd, stop. Tyd, wanneer. Right? When. Melissa skop gister. So, now we've found our sentence structure. Melissa skop gister of Melissa skop. Melissa het. Okay. Let's revamp because now I'm changing. So, when we're doing stompie and we have two verbs, it's very difficult to use stompie, as you saw, with an actual verb. So having two verbs. For example, if I was going to carry on, to say Melissa skop gister die bal hard oor die muur skop. Do you understand? Verb 2. And then om te wen. So, when we're referring to stompie met werkwoord 1 and werkwoord 2, we're referring to stompie, our first werkwoord, as being a tense. So, the reason I went Melissa and gister is because now these two are going to give us our first verb, which is our tense. And if we're talking about yesterday, that's past tense, so Melissa het. Was kan ook 'n eerste werkwoord wees. So If we're looking at this, your first verb would be time, more per se, like het, us, was. Do you understand? So if we're looking at stompie and we're gonna have two verbs in one sentence, they can't both be action verbs. Ene moet at least a het of a is of a was is, and the second one will be our actual verb. So Melissa het gister. Wat het Melissa gister gedoen? Now we buy our O, which is object, voorwerp. What did she do? So Melissa het gister die bal Melissa het gister die bal manier, which is manner, which is wyse. So how was the verb or action done? So Melissa het gister die bal hard P for place, plek, waar, which our waar will be oor die muur. Now we have our werkwoord twee. This is our actual werkwoord. While they both verbs, they're just different types of verbs, okay? So werkwoord twee. So Melissa het gister die bal hard oor die muur geskop. Remember our tenses? Because we're dealing with past tense. Om te wen. So Melissa het gister die bal hard oor die muur geskop om te wen. That whole sentence sounds perfectly right, and why? Because we followed stompie. We started with our subject, which is who, onderwerp Melissa. Ons eerste werkwoord, which is our het, is of was. Tyd, gister. Voorwerp, die bal. Wyse, hard. Plek oor die muur, werkwoord twee, geskop, om te wen. Awesome. So I'm hoping that this breakdown of what stompie is makes a little bit more sense. Listen, all you need to understand is that, or all you need to remember rather, is that your verb one comes straight after your subject. That's why it's het, because it can also be your second verb. I mean, if you're gonna have one verb, then you can use skop here. But if you're gonna have two verbs, then your het or your is or your was is where your first verb comes in. All you need to know is that your first verb comes after your subject, your onderwerp, and your second verb comes after your plek, your place. That is the structure. Other than that, you remember it as stompie. Let's write it out before we wrap up. Stompie. Do you see that? Hier is ons eerste werkwoord, tweede werkwoord, subject, onderwerp, tyd, voorwerp or object, manner, wyse, plek, place, infinitive. That's our last one. So it literally spells out stompie with our first verb after our subject and our second verb after plek. Awesome, guys. Thank you for joining me on this lesson. Met stompie. See you again next time. Bye.